Now, hundreds of thousands of UK workers will see a 10% pay rise from today if their employer is signed up to the voluntary Real Living Wage scheme. This is the rate the charity, the Living Wage Foundation, who are behind the scheme, thinks people need to cover their everyday costs. From today, that rate will be increasing to £12 an hour for staff across the UK, a little bit higher if you work or employ someone in London at £13.15, the government set. Minimum wage, slightly confusingly called the National Living Wage, stands at £10.42 an hour currently. Brett Mendell, the director of the Manchester-based textiles manufacturer Thomas Kneale, is with us. Morning, Brett.
Good morning.
And you pay this so-called real living wage, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely we do. We've been committed to paying the real living wage since 2015.
And this rise today, 10%, quite steep at a time where I imagine your costs are going up.
Yeah, that's right, and it is quite a significant one, but equally the inflation rate has been very high for some time, and as far as we're concerned, our people, our employees are crucial to our operation, and what the real living wage is calculated by is independently on the ability to not just pay the basic bills, but to afford a standard of living, to be able to go on a holiday, to be able to save a bit of money in case there's a breakdown of equipment in the house. And we feel it's very, very important that our employees receive that. They have lower financial stresses and anxieties. They have a greater motivation and satisfaction as a result of it. So, as far as we're concerned, costs are increasing, but there's a lot of business benefit to us from paying it.
So you find that those things are borne out?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We see a very significant productivity. We have a very low picking error in the warehouse, for example, because we've got people who are committed to the organisation, who have been there a long time. So we don't have a high labour turnover. It's actually reduced by 60% since we've become a living wage employer. And we've seen our absence rate reduced by 75%. It's very clear to us, and our colleagues tell us that they're motivated and they feel looked after by the organisation. And that then brings a lot of benefit, not just to the colleagues, which is crucial, but also to the organisation as well.
Is there a rate, because obviously you can opt in or opt out of doing this as a business, is there a rate where you would say, you know what, actually we're going to have to opt out of this and do our own thing? Is there a rate that could get too high? Because I mean, 10% certainly for smaller businesses than yours will be a heck of a lot to try and pass on.
I think the key thing really is recognising why the rate is what it is. The rate is what it is because it is becoming more expensive to live, to pay the bills, etc. So, I mean, ultimately, we've got to bear in mind that we have come through a very significant high inflation rate over the last 18 months. It's starting to stabilise, hopefully, and it will come down, no doubt. We do not necessarily believe that it will continue to increase at such high rates. But what we will do is we'll have a look at that each year. We have a look at our affordability of the business, but we really are committed to it and intend to continue to pay it because it is the right thing for the colleagues.
And you use that phrase "come through" there, Brett. Is that how you see it at your business now, that you've come through that inflation picture?
No one knows necessarily what's around the corner, but we have certainly stabilised, and we are finding that obviously it's not just wages that have gone up significantly over the past couple of years, and we've had a look at ways that we can manage and control our costs. We have had to increase prices to customers in some cases, but what we have is we've got a really good team. We've got a very clear business model, and so it's not that we've not been able to plan for this, but we've had to face into it and ensure that we're doing the right things. We're also a living hours employer. That's a relatively new part of the Living Wage Foundation. That gives our colleagues comfort that they're not going to have their hours cut at short notice, because it's all well and good paying a good hourly rate, but if colleagues find that with very little notice shifts are cut, that's not going to be helpful for them either.
Brett Mendell, the director of Manchester-based textiles firm Thomas Kneale, thanks so much for your time. Well, our markets guest this morning is